Hello friends, in this lecture series on colligative properties, today we will discuss about colligative properties of electrolyte solutions and we will discuss about Van't Hoff factor. But before starting, let us start our lecture by introducing a great scientist, Van't Hoff. Van't Hoff was a Dutch chemist and he is considered as the one of founders of physical chemistry. He carried out his research work in number of subjects like chemical kinetics, chemical equilibrium, osmotic pressure, and chemical infinity. You will find a number of chemical equations by his name in these fields. And Van Hoff was the first chemist who received the Nobel Prize in chemistry. Now we will start our main topic. We have already defined colligative properties of dilute solutions as the properties which depend upon number of particles of solute present and they are independent of nature of solute dissolved. There are basically four colligative properties: lowering of vapor pressure, osmotic pressure of solution, elevation in boiling point, and depression in freezing point. In our previous lectures, we have discussed all these properties one by one, but we discussed these properties for non-electrolytes. But what if we have electrolytes? So if the solutes are electrolytes, then abnormal results are observed. What are these abnormalities? Today, that is our main topic of interest is that how electrolytes they affect the colligative properties. Now let us quickly rewind these four colligative properties. This was the expression for relative lowering of vapor pressure and from this expression by putting the values of N2 and N1 and considering the solution to be very dilute, we can determine molecular weight of solute by measuring this relative lowering of vapor pressure. Similarly, this is the expression for osmotic pressure of the solution where osmotic pressure is denoted by symbol pi. We can also use the symbol P. It is up to you. You can use any symbol. So pi pi V is equal to nRT or we can write pi is equal to N by V. Now N by V is the number of moles of solute per liter of the solution. That means concentration and more particularly it is the molarity capital M. This concentration is molarity. So osmotic pressure is CRT by putting the value of this N number of moles of solute which is weight of solute divided by molecular weight of solute. We can calculate the molecular weight of unknown solute if we measure the osmotic pressure experimentally. Similarly, the next colligative property was elevation in boiling point. So delta TB is elevation in boiling point which is given by relation Kb which is a constant and multiplied by molality. Now it is molality of the solution and by giving the expression for molality from here also we can determine the molecular weight of solute. We have to determine delta TB experimentally. This is called experimental determination of molecular weight from colligative properties. This we have already discussed in our previous lectures. Similarly, depression in freezing point has the same expression as that of elevation in boiling point. From this also we can calculate the molecular weight of solute. We have derived all these relations in our previous lectures. I have kept the link of those lectures in the description section of the video. Please find there. Now, from all these relation, one thing is clear that colligative property, whether it be relative lowering of vapor pressure, whether it be osmotic pressure, be it elevation in boiling point or depression in freezing point, all these colligative properties, they are inversely proportional to the molecular weight of solute. You can see from this relation. This colligative property is inversely proportional to molecular weight of solute. This. Similarly for this. So this is a important relation. So please remember it. We will use it in our upcoming slides. So this states that higher the colligative property, lower is the molecular weight of solute. Now let us discuss about colligative properties of electrolytes. Now I will give you a scenario. Let us consider 1 molar aqueous solutions of sucrose. We have three different solutions. 1 molar solution, aqueous solutions of sucrose, sodium chloride and calcium chloride. And we want to measure its vapor pressure. We want to measure the vapor pressure of these solutions at same temperature as that of pure solvent. First thing is that their vapor pressure will be less than pure water. Why? Because vapor pressure of solution is always less than vapor pressure of pure solvent when we prepare the solution by adding a non-volatile solute. All these solutes, they are non-volatile. Now, as this all these three solutions, they will have lesser vapor pressure than water, but the concentration of all these solutions is same. We have make them of same concentration, 1 molar. Now we know that colligative properties, they are dependent upon the concentration or amount of solute, and they are independent of the nature, whether it be sucrose or NaCl or calcium chloride. If the concentration is same as it is 1 molar, means 1 mole of these substances has dissolved in liter of the solution, and 1 mole contains how many particles? We know Avogadro number of particles. So we expect that these three solutions, they should have same vapor pressure. Their vapor pressure will be less than water, definitely, but they should have same vapor pressure. But in actual practice, when experimentally their vapor pressure was determined, it was found that vapor pressure of sucrose was greater than vapor pressure of sodium chloride. That was greater than vapor pressure of calcium chloride. Now, how to explain this behavior? From our previous studies, we know that colligative properties, they depend only upon the number of particles, and if the concentration of the solution is the same, then they should have same number of particles. So their colligative property should be same, but this is showing something else. Experimental values, they show that vapor pressure of sucrose is higher than vapor pressure of NaCl, that is higher than vapor pressure of calcium chloride. Now how to explain this? This is explained if we look carefully. Sucrose is a non-electrolyte, means when it is dissolved in a solution, it does not dissociate. Formula for sucrose is C12H22 and O11. If we dissolve it in any solvent, it will remain as it is. But NaCl and calcium chloride, these are electrolytes. Electrolytes means they will dissociate in solutions. Now, as sucrose, it does not dissociate. So, 1 mole of sucrose, it contributes 1 mole particles. 1 mole particles means Avogadro number of particles. Now, let us see how NaCl behaves. But as we dissolve NaCl in water, so it is split into Na positive and Cl negative. So NaCl gets dissociated to Na positive and Cl negative, and both of these cations and this anion, they behave as independent particles. So NaCl, it gives 1 molecule of NaCl give rise to one molecule Na positive and one, more precisely we can say cation. One cation sodium and one anion chloride. That means one NaCl gives 2 particles. So if we have 1 mole NaCl, it will give 2 mole particles, 1 mole of Na positive and 1 mole of NCl negative. So 1 mole means Avogadro number of Na positive, and similarly Avogadro number of Cl negative. So the total particles become Na plus Na 2Na. So in case of sodium chloride, the number of effective particles are 2 times Avogadro number, which is greater than the number of particles when sucrose was the solute. So if number of particles are more, as we know that colligative property depends upon the number of particles, so colligative properties will also be more. Now what is colligative property we are discussing? We are discussing about lowering of vapor pressure. So lowering of vapor pressure will be more for NaCl. That's why its vapor pressure is less than sucrose. Now, in case of calcium chloride splits as calcium 2 positive plus 2Cl negative. So it gave one calcium chloride gives 3 particles, one calcium 2 positive and 2Cl active. So 1 mole calcium chloride will give how many particles? 3 mole particles. 1 mole for calcium 2 positive and 2 mole for Cl negative. So in case of calcium chloride, we have 3 times Avogadro number. The total number of particles are 3Na. So this is even more than sodium chloride. So colligative property for calcium chloride will be maximum, and this colligative property is lowering of vapor pressure. So vapor pressure of calcium chloride is least. So this is how electrolytes, when they are dissolved in solutions, the number of effective particles increase. Why? Because they dissociate into the ion. So that's why their colligative properties are high. Value of their colligative properties are high. So we have to modify the formulas that we have derived from our previous lectures for different colligative properties. Like for elevation in boiling point, the formula was delta TB is equal to KB into M. But now we have to introduce a new factor which is denoted by iota I solute. This factor will be dependent upon the nature of solute, whether it is electrolyte or non-electrolyte. Similarly, depression in freezing point is equal to Kf into M and a new factor iota. So just the formulas that we have already derived, we just add a new parameter iota, which determines whether a solute is electrolyte or non-electrolyte. This iota is called Van 't Hoff factor. So its value of iota is 1 for non-electrolytes, because these electrolytes, they do not dissociate in solution. So typical non-electrolytes are ethanol, sucrose, benzene, carbon tetrachloride. All these molecules, they are non-electrolytes. So for these molecules, value of iota will be 1. So if value of iota is 1, so this iota is 1. So the relation will again become delta TB is equal to KB into M, which is familiar to us. That holds true for non-electrolytes. Now, how to determine iota? So there are, first thing is, in simple cases for strong electrolytes which are completely dissociated into solutions, this iota is equal to the number of ions per formula unit. In simple language, we can say, okay, how many number of particles a single electrolyte will give, that will determine the value of iota. Like NaCl. NaCl gives the 2 particles, Na positive and Cl negative. So value of iota should be 2. I should be 2 for NaCl, and for calcium chloride dissociates to calcium 2 positive and 2 number of Cl negative. So total number of particles 1 plus 2 3. So value of iota should be 3. But these are ideal cases when the solution is very dilute. But if the solution is concentrated, we cannot determine the value of iota by simply looking at the structure of electrolyte. Why? Because theoretical iota assumes that ions act independently in solution, and that is true when the solution is dilute. When the solution is dilute, these ions they are far from each other, so they interact very less. But as we increase the concentration of the solutions, these ions they tend to come close. So now their interactions we cannot ignore. So if we cannot ignore the interactions, so iota will not be equal to the theoretical value. In this case, we have to determine iota experimentally. Generally, iota is determined experimentally. We will see how. So for we can say for concentrated solutions, iota experimental is not equal to iota theoretical. Now I will give you an example of magnesium sulfate aqueous solution. So if we look theoretically, iota should come out to be 2. Why? Because MgSO4 it splits into Mg2 positive, one Mg2 positive and one SO4, 2 negative. So there are two particles. So theoretical iota should be 2. But for a zero point 0.5 molar magnesium sulfate solution, value of iota comes out to be 1.07 if we measure it experimentally. And when the solution is dilute 0.005 molar, its value comes out to be 1.72. Now you can see more dilute is the solution, the value of I experimental is close to I theoretical. So this value is getting closer to 2. How to determine now? How to determine iota experimentally? So there is a formula to determine iota. Iota is given by observed colligative property divided by normal colligative property. Now let us see the meaning of this expression. Suppose we are measuring elevation in boiling point delta TB. So one method is that we can determine the boiling point of pure solvent and determine the boiling point of the solution. Then take the difference. This will take the difference in the boiling point. This will give you the elevation in boiling point. This is called experimental determination of delta TB. So this is called observed colligative property. And we also had a formula delta TB is equal to Kb into M. Now this is the theoretical formula. Now if we know the molality of the solution, we can easily find because when we make a solution, we know how much solute we have used, how much solvent we have used. So by using formula for molality, we can calculate molality. Kb is known for different solvents. So by putting the value of molality and this constant, you can also calculate the delta TB. This is the theoretical value. Okay. Now this is called normal colligative property. Now if the solute is non-electrolyte, then theoretical value and observed value it should be same. That means iota is 1. But this is not normally same for electrolytes. So this is how we determine iota. It is given by observed colligative property, observed or we can say experimental value divided by normal value calculated simply by using the formula for that colligative property. We can also derive this relation in terms of molecular mass of the solute. Now we in our previous slide we say that colligative property is inversely proportional to the molecular weight. So in terms of molecular weight, we can have iota is equal to, now the relation get reversed as In case of colligative property, normal property is in denominator. In this, it will come in numerator. So iota is equal to normal molecular mass divided by observed molecular mass. Normal molecular mass means calculated simply from the formula, like sucrose. We have the formula for sucrose C12H22O11. Now, if we put the weight of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, we can calculate its molecular weight. This is called normal molecular weight, simply calculated from the formula. This is the observed molecular weight. The molecular weight calculated from measurement of colligative properties. We say in our previous lectures that colligative property is used to determine the molecular weight of unknown solute. So take this example only. If we know this delta TB, we can calculate weight of molecular weight of unknown solute. So the weight calculated from experimental value and normal molecular weight, if we know both of these, we can calculate iota. Now my suggestion to you is that do not remember both these expressions. Try to remember only one because the second one is derived from this relation. You just have to remember that colligative property is inversely proportional to the molecular weight of the solute. Now, if the colligative property for electrolytes is different, obviously we will get abnormal molecular weights from experimental value. Means the molecular weight calculated from experimental value will not be equal to their actual molecular weight, because electrolytes they dissociates in solutions to give ions, and each ion it acts as an independent particle. So the number of particles for an electrolyte is much larger than the particles which do not dissociate. Like this, we have already explained for sucrose and NaCl. For sucrose, for 1 mole of sucrose, number of particles is Avogadro number, but for 1 mole NaCl solution, we have number of particles is equal to 2 times Avogadro number. So if the number of particles are more, the observed colligative property will be more than expected for normal substance. Normal substance means non-electrolytes. And if colligative property is more, colligative property is inversely proportional to the molecular weight. So observed molecular mass of electrolyte will be less than expected from the formula of the substance. Like molecular weight is inversely proportional to the colligative property. So the electrolytes they leads to abnormal molecular weights. We also have a second class of substances which associates. There are some compounds which associates in solvent. So if the molecules associates, that means their number of effective particles will decrease. Let us try to understand by example of acetic acid. Now acetic acid, it has been observed that when it is dissolved in benzene, it exists as a dimer. So this is the dimeric form of acetic acid. Now let us assume we start with the 1000 particles of acetic acid. Now 1000 particles of acetic acid, but we know that two particles they combine to give one particle, and this one particle it acts as a independent particle. So the number of effective particles will be two particles they give one particle. So one particle will give 1/2 and 1000 particles will give 1000/2, 500 particles. So in actual, if acetic acid it dimerizes, the effective particles will be half of the original particles that we expect. So if number of particles decrease, that means colligative property will decrease. If colligative property will decrease, as colligative property is inversely proportional to molecular weight, so observed molecular weight will be greater, and for acetic acid it will be almost double than actual value. The actual molecular weight of acetic acid is 60, but if we measure it experimentally, it comes out to be 120. So this suggests that it exists as a dimer. So if we have to conclude this about molecular weights, we can say that for electrolytes, the observed molecular weight is less than their actual molecular weight, and for substances that associates, the observed molecular weight will be more than their actual value. Now let us consider some applications of or some uses of Van Hoff factor. The first use is with the help of Van Hoff factor we can calculate degree of association of a solute. This is true for those solutes which associates. So degree of association is defined as the fraction of total number of molecules of the substance which exist as associated molecules. Again, I will explain you. Suppose we have 1000 particles of a solute which has a tendency to associate, and out of these only 500 they get associated. So the degree of association is the fraction of particles which are associated is equal to the number of particles that are associated divided by total number of particles. That means 500 divided by 1000, its degree of association is half. This is just example I have used just to explain the meaning of degree of association. Now let us consider a case where we have taken 1 mole of any substance A which has a tendency to associate in a particular solvent, and we know that for 1 mole the number of particles are equal to Avogadro number. Now let us denote associated particles as AN, means n particles of A they associate to give a single particle which can be denoted by AN. For acetic acid, N was 2. Why? Because two molecules of acetic acid they combine to give a dimer. So, and then assume alpha as degree of association. Now we can represent this by chemical equation Na. N just to indicate that n number of particles of A they combine to give a associated molecule which is denoted by An. Now initial number of moles. Suppose initial number of moles means the number of moles when it has not been dissolved in solution that before association. Now we have started with the 1 mole. So it is 1. Still as there is no association, so here the number of moles will be 0. So the mole number of moles is a measure of number of particles. From moles we can calculate number of particles. Now let us see what happens after association. Now as degree of association is alpha, so how many particles will associate? The number of particles that will associate is equal to the number of moles that we have taken initially. Initially we have taken 1 mole multiplied by degree of association. So alpha moles they will associate. Now again revise. We have started from 1 mole of solute. Out of these, alpha have associated. So, what are the remaining number of particles? It is equal to 1 minus alpha, which are not associated. So, number of moles of unassociated particles is 1 minus alpha. Now, let us calculate how many associated molecules are formed. Now, we can easily calculate this by unitary method. If we take n number of molecules, they associate to give one molecule. One molecule will give 1 by n. Now we have to calculate for how many? For alpha number of moles. So alpha number of moles will give 1 by n multiplied by alpha, or we can say alpha by n. So the number of associated molecules that are formed is equal to alpha by n. Now let us calculate the total number of moles after association. So total number of moles will be equal to the number of particles or the number of moles that are unassociated plus the number of moles that have associated. So it is equal to 1 minus alpha plus alpha by n, where alpha is the degree of association that we have to determine, and number of moles before dissociation is equal to the amount initially that we have taken. It is equal to 1 number of moles before association. Now, as colligative property, it depends upon number of particles. So we can write iota is equal to observed colligative effect divided by normal colligative effect. And this colligative effect will depend upon number of particles. So observed colligative effect, we can write number of particles after association 1 minus alpha plus alpha by n divided by the number of particles before association. It is 1. And let us try to solve this. Iota is equal to 1 minus alpha plus alpha by n, or we can write iota is equal to 1 minus alpha, we can take common. So minus alpha common, it becomes 1 minus 1 by n. Now we can take this to the left hand side and iota to the right hand side. So it becomes alpha into 1 minus 1 by n is equal to 1 minus iota. Or we have to calculate alpha. So we can write alpha is equal to, I am writing here, 1 minus iota divided by 1 minus 1 by n. So that is how you can calculate degree of association. If we know the value of iota, we can calculate alpha. So that this is the expression for degree of association is alpha is equal to 1 minus iota divided by 1 minus 1 by n. Now alpha iota we can calculate from this. Iota is equal to normal molecular weight divided by observed molecular weight. So from iota you can calculate degree of association. Similarly, we can also calculate degree of dissociation. So, like degree of association, degree of dissociation is defined as fraction of total number of molecules which dissociate in solution into simpler molecules or ions. Now, consider any substance AB which we have taken 1 mole and it dissociates to A positive and B negative, and alpha is the degree of dissociation. Chemically, we can express it as AB gives A positive plus B negative. Initial number of moles as we have started from 1 mole. So mole of AB is 1. Initially, as there is no dissociation, so its mole is 0. Its mole is 0. Now, after dissociation, how much have dissociated? Similarly, as alpha is the degree of dissociation and initial number of moles we have started from where we have started is 1. So alpha moles they have dissociate, dissociated. So the remaining moles is 1 minus alpha. So how many moles of A positive will be formed? 1 mole of AB gives 1 mole of A positive. Alpha mole of AB will give alpha mole of A positive. Similarly, 1 mole of AB give 1 mole of B negative. So alpha mole of AB will give alpha mole of B negative. So the total number of moles after dissociation, the moles that are undissociated plus dissociated. So it is equal to 1 minus alpha. We will simply add them plus alpha plus alpha. So 1 alpha gets cancelled. So it is equal to 1 plus alpha. Now colligative property is proportional to number of particles. So using the same expression, we can have iota is equal to observed colligative property divided by normal colligative property. So it is given by observed colligative property will be given by the number of particles after dissociation. So normal colligative property, number of particles before dissociation. So from here we can calculate iota. So iota is 1 plus alpha. It gives you alpha is equal to iota minus 1. Now if we know the value of iota, we can calculate degree of dissociation. So this was the case when we have a simple electrolyte of the form AB. Now iota is calculated from this formula. Now consider second case. If the electrolyte is of the type AB2, then we will apply the same formula. Now AB2 it dissociates as A, it is 2 positive, sorry, A2 positive plus 2 B negative. Now if we start from 1 mole of this before as dissociation, it is 0, it is 0. So after dissociation, if alpha has dissociator, so what will be the remaining? 1 minus alpha. 1 mole of this gives 1 mole of this. So how much A2 positive will be formed? Alpha. Now see how much B negative will be formed. Now 1 mole of AB2, it gives 2 moles of B negative. So alpha moles of AB2 will give 2 alpha moles of B negative. Now total number of moles 1 minus alpha plus alpha plus 2 alpha. So alpha gets cancelled. It is equal to 1 plus 2 alpha. Now colligative property, we will apply the same relation. Iota is equal to observed colligative effect divided by normal colligative effect, and observed colligative effect, it depends upon the number of dissociated particles. So it is equal to 1 plus 2 alpha. Normal colligative effect means if we consider there is a no dissociation, then the number of moles will remain 1. So we can write in this case iota comes out to be 1 plus 2 alpha. So we can write iota minus 1 is equal to 2 alpha, or alpha is equal to iota minus 1 by 2. Now this is the expression for degree of dissociation for a solutes like AB2. So iota we can calculate from this expression. So we can say if we consider any general case in which 1 mole of electrolyte gives n moles of ionic compounds. Any general case like 1 mole of this gives n moles of ionic products, then we will apply the same relation there. Initial number of moles is 1, then its value will be 0. How much have dissociated? Alpha. So after dissociation, how much will remain? 1 minus alpha. And how much ionic products will be formed? 1 mole of A gives n moles of P. Alpha moles of A will give n alpha mole of NP. So the total number of moles become 1 minus alpha plus n alpha. If we take alpha common, we can write it as 1 plus alpha. We can take it common, n minus 1. Now let us calculate alpha from value of iota. Now iota is equal to observed colligative effect divided by normal colligative effect. It is equal to 1 plus alpha n minus 1 divided by 1. Okay. So divided by 1, or we can write iota is equal to 1 plus alpha n minus 1. So iota minus 1 is equal to alpha n minus 1. So alpha comes out to be iota minus 1 divided by n minus 1. So this is the general case when any electrolyte, 1 mole of any electrolyte, it dissociates to n moles of ionic products. Then we can calculate degree of dissociation alpha as iota minus 1 divided by n minus 1, where iota you can calculate from this expression. So these were some applications of iota, that it helps us to calculate degree of association for the solutes that associate and degree of dissociation for the solutes that dissociates, and these solutes are called electrolytes which dissociate in solution. Now another application is like in the areas where a heavy snowfall occurs. So what happens, a lot of snow gets deposited on the roadside. So in order to make life easier, we have to remove this snow, and this snow eventually gets converted to ice. Now, how to remove it? As we know that if we put some salt on ice, its freezing point decreases and it will melt. Now, which salt we have to use? Now, you can use either calcium chloride or sodium chloride. Now, which one we will prefer? We will prefer that salt which gives more ions in solution, and we know that calcium chloride gives more number of ions in solution. So it will be preferred over sodium chloride. Why? Because as it gives more number of particles, so the depression in freezing point will be more. Now, there is also a second advantage of using calcium chloride, because when we dissolve calcium chloride in water, it is an exothermic reaction. So those reactions which releases heat are called exothermic reactions. So this heat will also help us in melting the ice. So that was all for today. We will meet next time and we will solve some numericals based on these colligative properties. I hope you have liked the lecture. So please subscribe to my channel and also share with your friends. Thank you.